Ooh, you like that, hey? Yeah, me too. Hi guys, Bryce here from Calgary Barbell again. Today we're going to do a little deadlift tutorial. I'm going to run through the conventional deadlift specifically because that's how I pull. And we're going to go through some of the steps that I use when I deadlift and go from there. My biggest deadlift in competition was 756 pounds, 343 kilos, and that was at the recent North American Championships. So when I deadlift, there's about 4 steps that I go through. The first one's going to be the setup, second is going to be bracing the torso, third is going to be pulling into tension at the bottom. That one's really important and often overlooked. And the fourth is the actual pull itself. First thing I'll do when I approach the bar is get my feet set. So what I generally like to do is be pretty much straight down from my hips. That's going to allow all your joints to be nice and stacked. That should, in theory, support the most weight. Bigger guys, bigger thighs, might need to go a little wider. But another thing you really need to take into consideration with your setup is how wide your grip's going to have to be to accommodate what your knees need to be doing. What I like to do is I like to take my breath at the top, so this is going to be going into bracing now. What you'll see me do is sort of lock my lats down, get my breath for my first rep before I go down to the bar. Especially with the belt on, this helps me get a little more air in. The third step that's really, really important that a lot of people overlook is to pull yourself into tension. So what you need to do is you're going to take your grip, now that you're nice and braced, and you're going to pull on the bar with your lats. You're going to allow your knees to travel forward a little bit. You're going to sit your butt down until you feel tension in your whole back, through your core, your quads, your glutes, and your hamstrings. So basically your entire body is already firing at this point. Being that tight is going to make sure you have a good pull. So the next thing is the actual deadlift itself, the pull. Now a lot of people are going to have a different starting point. Some people are going to start their hips a little higher, some people a little lower. It's going to depend on leverages and limb lengths and strengths and weaknesses and all that stuff. But we do need to make sure that we stay in a similar position that we start in. So the first phase of the deadlift off the floor should be pretty much straight up. So you're not letting your hips shoot up, your hip angle's not changing. It's kind of like a leg press. You're going to think about pushing the floor away more so than starting to pull back. If you start to pull back too early, your knees are going to go forward and you're going to be pulling against yourself, essentially making you lift way harder than it should be. So straight up off the floor, once you pass the knees, you're going to think about squeezing your glutes and driving your hips forward, and at the same time pulling back with your lats. As you get to the top of the lift, depending on what federation you're in, they're going to be a little sticky. You got to make sure you lock your knees out, but that's it.